Why Back to the Future?
The sex scenes. All the sex in it. You know, I kind of can vaguely recall seeing this in movie theaters as a kid. I don't know why I saw it in a movie theater. I don't know why I remember that I do. You know, like as a kid, things are so far back you can't recall if that's a dream or real. But for some reason, the first time I saw this as a kid, I remember not understanding why there were flames, not understanding, with the car wheels, not understanding that it was about time travel. But I do remember as a kid, the music exciting me so much, and like every element of Michael J. Fox just being so awesome. It isn't until I revisited this movie as an adult that I realized the massive impact Michael J. Fox had on me to really want to be an actor. That I sort of didn't realize.
Yeah.
Even in interviews where someone said, like you just said, why Back to the Future? Being like, why did you want to be an actor? Like, I now realize that I wanted to be Michael J. Fox. And this movie is a massive part of that. Like, I love Family Ties, but this changed everything for me. A buddy of mine in high school was like, oh yeah, it's one of my favorite movies. And he was like, it's so funny. And I hadn't seen it in forever because, movies were so inaccessible. I didn't have a VHS of it. And so when I saw it as an adult now, I was like, oh, it is super funny. And then the more that I've seen it, I'm like, oh, it's a perfectly symmetrical film in terms of the storytelling. I think even Quentin Tarantino has said there's like 5 perfect movies, and this is one of them. And I think that's absolutely true from the storytelling standpoint.
You said that there are very few perfect movies, and one of them is Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yes.
Which surprised me, And what are the other perfect movies?
The perfect movie kind of crosses all aesthetics to one degree or another. Might not be your cup of tea, but there's nothing you can say to bring it down. And I think Jaws fits into that. Mm-hmm. I think The Exorcist fits into that. I think Annie Hall fits into that. I think some people could say Young Frankenstein fits
I would
into
say that.
Yeah, I can understand that. I can understand thinking that.
Yeah, I should know. I didn't.
Back to the Future is a perfect movie.
Yeah.
But originally, you weren't very into Back to the Future. You were more just Huey Lewis in the news.
I just wanted to be Huey Lewis.
That was actually the first music that I think you listened to was Huey Lewis. Dad used to play it all the time, and we have videos of you like dancing around.
Yeah, I like the music. It's just ingrained in me. I can't help it.
Yeah. So you would have been like 5.
I would have been 5, and I can't. So my mother passed away when I was really young, and the only idea that I have as to why I've maybe seen this in theaters is that my dad, was dating my stepmother at the time and was just like, yeah, let's all go. There was a time when nobody stopped to go, is this bad for kids or should we see it first? That just wasn't how anybody was. You guys know that. And so I think my dad was probably like, oh, it's PG. It's fine. Whatever. Let's go. That's in my head. If I have seen it in theaters and my memory is correct, I think that's maybe why. Otherwise it's a dream. And I just thought that I was in theaters to see it, but for some reason I can see it in my mind.
No, it's funny when you described it that way because I have a movie like that. Our dad took us to go watch, and our mom took us to go watch There's Something About Mary.
Yeah.
But
it was in like 3rd grade.
I was very
perfect.
Very
That's like
young.
the age you want to be.
Well, my mom was very upset and drug us out of the theater and after he zips his dick up.
Of course.
But for my life, I was so young where I was just like, is that a memory? Like, why do I have this weird information? Yeah. And then when I rewatched it as an adult, I was like, thank God.
Yeah. Like, even as a kid, the size of this amp never, like, that was not a joke to me. I was like, oh, that's the size of it. Like, that wasn't even
and
silly.
The sound waves would be that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, it wasn't even silly. Like, all of this just made practical sense to me that this is what he would be doing.
That you go over to your older neighbor's house that's a scientist to hang out after school.
I know that other people have pointed it out, but the movie is so perfect that you don't question the relationship between Doc and Marty.
Yeah, not at all.
You don't. No, you aren't sitting there like, wait, why did they meet? How did they meet? What's going on? You don't care at all because you're so into the adventure that's kind of unfolding before you. You're entertained enough that you don't question the absurdity of their relationship.
I love that you said adventure because it is that.
Yeah.
Right off the bat, too. You're just like, he's missing right now. Where you're like, where is Doc Brown? You know, why is he just in this guy's house?
Yes, and like, what is this?
And his home life looks pretty lame. So, like, I can't blame him for wanting to hang out with a kooky
With
old
the
guy.
scientist. Yeah. You know what? One thing I love, too, like right here when all the alarms go off, and then the music, when he hangs up, he's like, I'm late for school, and hangs up, and the music kicks in. It's like, if that doesn't excite you, you're dead inside.
Yeah.
You know? But also when he goes to leave here out of the garage, and you get to see where it is now, it's in LA. I've driven past that Burger King thousands of times because I used to record my podcast kind of near that area. You can see like Langer's Diner in the background. A lot of that actually is still kind of there. And then like, you know, as a kid, I never noticed it, but like the so clearly like fake square that they're on here.
Yeah. My dad also showed me this movie too early.
Yeah.
But I just remember being like, I don't understand why Doc Brown is getting shot by Libyans. Also, what are Libyans? Like, I had no.
Yes, of course.
I was so young.
Of course. Yeah, in your mind, you're just like, I don't know. I just accepted the controversy that was given to me.
Mm-hmm. Rewatching this recently, I was like, wait, there's terrorists in it? Like, I totally forgot about that part. I loved it when I was a kid. Like, there's just something about Marty McFly. But we got a few surprises for you, Rory.
Oh, hell yeah. What do we got here? Oh, shit. Oh, shit, y'all. Guys, Upstate Soccer, my alma mater, played soccer there from the spring of 2000 until the spring of 2003. Yeah. Where the fuck did you get this? I get mad. I'm mad about the gifts. What the fuck is this, dude?
How'd you know?
Yeah, this is it's Nike now, and we're Division 1, but when I played there, we were Division 2. And we had Kelme, which is a horrible brand that makes awful shit. Kelme.
I've never even heard of it.
Exactly.
Kill me?
Yeah.
Basically. That's exactly how it could be said. I love this right here when their noses touch and they could easily just kiss, but they don't. The tension, the raw sexual tension right here.
Yeah, nose to nose.
Do you think he intended to get their nose to touch?
I don't know. Maybe it's some
Huey
improv.
Huey Lewis, there he is, the king right there.
Wait, was that
Look at
Huey
these other
Lewis?
bands auditioning.
So that was Huey Lewis?
That was Huey Lewis.
No way.
That's the actual Huey Lewis.
I never noticed that.
Too loud.
I'm afraid you guys are just too darn loud.
You know, there's a rumor that like they call him Hughie Lewis because
Oh.
he just has
Big old
just a
dong?
massive dong.
Big old ding dong.
I told another buddy of mine that I was like, we were listening to Huey Lewis one day. I was like, oh, do you know this? And he just goes, that guy has everything.
Yeah, the power of love.
I gotta say here, Huey's right to have them go ahead and shut it down because you're auditioning for the school dance. This isn't what anyone wants.
Yeah.
Who is dancing to this?
Oh, it's a school dance. I thought it might be.
Look at all these
I thought it
bands
was a
too.
talent
Who's bringing
show.
a full
Yeah.
kit? The absurdity of this audition.
You know, John Mayer said this movie is what inspired him to play guitar.
Is that true?
Yeah, him
Hey,
playing
hey.
the Johnny Be Good.
Turns out he's incredible at it.
Mm-hmm.
Is Michael J. Fox playing Johnny B. Good in that?
Yeah, I believe so.
That's what
I think he
that
plays
was
guitar.
Oh, is he actually playing the
I think
guitar?
so.
I mean, I'm going to say no, but I'd love to say yes. The original Jennifer, as you guys probably know, in 2 and 3, replaced by Elizabeth Shue. Makes you wonder, why did that need to happen? Maybe she just didn't want to do the movie. I can't imagine she was inaccessible. This actress, none of us know. Or did she pass away?
Or they slightly changed something and didn't fix it.
Sorry for all this coughing. The guys didn't mention it, but I'm dying. This is my last performance.
Yeah, his last wish was to be on this podcast.
I was like, guys, can we just watch my favorite movie?
One last
They're like,
time.
fine. And I go, but I need you guys to dress up. And they did not want to. They didn't want to. Look, she loves him. 555-4823. No area code. You didn't need it back then. Orgy, American style. Look at that in the background.
Oh, wow.
Huh?
The next thing we got you.
Oh, God.
This was really dumb, but
Oh,
it's also
God.
really great that they even make these.
Who
Conan
makes
locket.
who makes these?
It was an individual seller on Etsy.
Yeah. All right, look at that.
You did one
Well,
of
there's
my.
no way that gets close enough, but
You did one of my favorite
Conan O'Brien
sets
in a locket.
I've ever seen when you and John Doerr
Oh yeah,
got double booked.
the double booking, the infamous double booking.
So it just seems like Conan's just the coolest in terms of like, yeah, go for it. Try this thing on late night television.
You can tell he's very chill and definitely likes to get outside of the box. So I think when this was pitched to him, not through me, but through John Doerr, he was like, yeah, great. You know, J.P. Buck, who was the booker at Conan, very supportive of it. Great at convincing Conan and Jeff Ross, hey, let Rory and John Doerr do this thing. And John just came to me and was like, do you want to do it? They said yes. And I was like, yeah, I'd never done a late night spot before at that point. And I was like, yeah, I'd love to. I'd love to come and do it. This seems so absurd. At least I don't think I had done it. I hadn't been on Conan yet, at least. George McFly, probably favorite character in the whole movie. Crispin Glover, you guys maybe know this or don't, but in Back to the Future Part 2, it's not Crispin Glover. It is another actor, and Crispin Glover sued them, and that's actually a monumental win for all actors that a production can't just
Use your likeness.
use your likeness like that. I mean, now we fight it with AI,
Yeah.
and I feel like we're maybe winning, but who knows what loopholes exist to where they can get around it. But, you know, that's massive. That's actually really huge for all actors that Crispin Glover, this guy who's kind of, you know, I don't know how seriously he's taken. I know that he's very different.
I
Very
picture him
unique,
being
artsy,
Marty
strange.
McFly almost, like just
Yeah.
kind of a weird, goofy dude.
Yeah, I think that's maybe why he crushed this. But what's so interesting to me is, and I've always wondered this, Zemeckis, like what, like did Crispin Glover pull this out and he was like, this is how I'm doing it? And were they all like, this is great? Like it's a fantastically beautiful choice to play this character so absurdly. Like even here when he's about to like be laughing and shit as they're watching TV, like those are insane acting choices. Where you think a director would go, what the fuck are you doing? Like this is his dad, and his dad acts this absurd. By the way, that peanut brittle that gets poured in that bowl, it's a scene that got cut out between this scene and the previous scene. A dad and his daughter show up to sell peanut brittle, and the dad kind of bullies George McFly into buying some. But I guess they were like,
Yeah.
we get it.
He's pathetic. We got it. Yeah.
We actually already got it from Biff that he's pathetic.
It would suck to go back in time and be like, man, my dad has always been a loser.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my God. He's just a loser type dude.
Let's hope my kids don't invent time travel.
Yeah. Also, another side note. God, I guess I have more to say than I thought I would have. That cake, Welcome Home, Uncle Joey. That was my groomsman's cake at my wedding. Yeah. So at the rehearsal dinner, that was my cake. You know, you have a bride's cake and a groom's cake.
Yes.
That was mine.
It said
that exact.
It
design.
said that Uncle Joey on there.
The exact same artwork. Everything is that.
That is incredible. Did you know immediately when they're like, what cake do you want? Were you like, boom?
I sort of did. And I was like, only me and like two other friends are going to appreciate this. Everyone else is going to be like, I don't
Those are the
understand.
best
Welcome
jokes,
home, welcome home, Uncle Joey.
Speaking of jokes that we were talking about, you're double booked. I heard you talking about that on a podcast, and you were talking about that there was a practical joke that happened that night that Nick Thune did.
I don't think it was that night. It was the second time. Was that the second time? Maybe it was that night. Man, now it's all blending together. Maybe it was that night. I know that John and I did two things on Conan. The double booking, and then the second thing we had, which was the switching places thing. We were going to do it, but Mel Brooks went long, and so it got canceled.
Classic
which ended
Mel
up being
Brooks.
good because we didn't have a good ending to it yet, and yet I was like, this is going to flop. I was actually pretty scared. Universe got in the way and said, Mel Brooks went long, and so I was like, great. So then when we finally were on, On a sad note, this was just after a school shooting, and Conan was like, he intros the show by being, I told all my writers, I don't want you looking at the news. I just want to make jokes, and I want to get away from what we're all feeling and all this. And so, in a way, us doing this switching place sketches was so silly and out of place that Conan kind of not throwing in the towel, but being like, I don't know what to do on a comedy show where we maybe shouldn't be having fun. Like, this is a sad time. And instead it was like, kind of, it all worked because it was like, we're just going to be silly for an hour. And so that's when we were on it. And I want to say maybe it was the double booking where we convinced Brendan Walsh to shave half his beard. And he went with it. And I do feel bad about it. Nick Thune, John Doerr, and myself, we all like set it up that he was going to be in a Harry Potter sketch and they needed him to shave half his face. JP was in on it. So he does it, shaves half his face. Then JP was like, oh man, they're not going to do the sketch. And we all thought, this is great because we're comics and we're assholes and we didn't think at all about Brendan's feelings about this. So yeah, that was one of the, and Nick happened to be there that night.
Yeah.
Went along with it. I mean, just going to a mall at night. So I've been to this mall. You can look it up, all the shooting locations from this movie, and go to these places. It's all fairly accessible.
Have you been to a lot of them?
I have. I've been to this mall. I've been outside of where the school dance is. It's at a church that's near the magic. What's the fucking magic place called? The Magic Castle. But I've never been inside there. I've been to the house, Marty's house. I've been to Doc's house / garage, which is so strange. I was going to play golf one morning and accidentally drove past it, and I was like, God, that looks just like the garage from Back to the Future. And it's not like a house. It's like, maybe at one point it was a house, but now it's like an historical location, not because of the movie, but because of whatever it actually is. And I remember like, man, that looks just like the hill. He runs down the hill and goes in the garage. And then I looked it up and I was like, oh, yes. And so I pulled over and like went and like looked at it. And then I got back in my car. There's a parking lot and shit.
That had to be an insane feeling.
It was absurd. And then, I think that was maybe the first one I stumbled across, and then was like, oh yeah, like all of these places are so accessible. They're all in LA.
That's just a JCPenney.
Shot it in LA. That's literally anywhere in America.
I bought some socks there. Yeah.
Yeah, that could be your JCPenney. You don't even know it. Also kind of crazy, like JCPenney. One, what even is that as far as like a department store? And two, it's still thriving. That's still a department store.
That'd been funny when they go in the future, and the other one, if everything's different except still JCPenney.
Still JCPenney, no matter what. Have you guys ever watched any of the Eric Stoltz footage when it was originally him cast as Marty?
I've seen just a little bit of it, but it seems insane to like do a whole movie and then get recast.
They did. I don't know if they did the whole movie, but you are right. They did do a lot. Mm-hmm. They did a lot, and they were just like, man, it's just not Eric Stoltz. And I think from what I've read, it wasn't easy getting this movie made. Like, nobody was into it. And I think Spielberg maybe was one of the first to read the script and was like, oh, this is great or whatever. I don't know why he wasn't doing it. And then they got turned down by everybody. And then like Spielberg was like, I'll do it. Like, I don't remember why he ended up coming on as a producer, or why he didn't immediately come on as a producer. He eventually did.
It is kind of an insane movie, though. Like, to think of how popular it became. Just like, if I was a studio exec being like, wait, what is it? They go back in time. He's trying not to bang his mom. Like,
next year is 40 years. This is a 40-year-old movie next year, and it is still massively popular, which is just
it's so good,
kind of insane. It's sort of just the most insane thing.
Have you watched any Rick and Morty or anything?
Oh yeah.
I feel like that's only helped with the popularity of this.
And also them being like, all right, we'll make them family members so it'll be justified. But what a great movie or great cartoon to be like, it's essentially Back to the Future, but time travel is every direction.
Yeah. And Doc's a alcoholic, you know.
Yes. And he's a huge drug user.
Later in the movie when he like puts on the hat and they're like in the school and he's just like an old guy in a hat in a school. Yeah. He looks the most like Rick, like in that moment. True.
You know what's so interesting, too? I don't know this, but everybody listening right now, look up how old Christopher Lloyd is at the time of this, because I don't think he's as old.
They age him up a little bit.
I think he's like 42.
Doesn't that just depress the fuck out of you?
Yeah.
Because you want him to be 60 right there.
But yeah, and even Marty McFly's dad, I think their ages are really close.
They're all, they're young. They're all like...
Marty's like 21 and his dad at Crispin is like 23.
Well, Leah Thompson playing his mom, then when you see her in the past, you're like, oh, she's probably younger than
yeah.
Everybody listening who I some of this stuff I'm spouting out, any fans already know it for sure, but originally the time machine was going to be a refrigerator. Yeah, and they were worried that kids would climb into fridges and die. They'd see this and go, I'm going to get in that. So they changed it, and what a remarkable shift to switch it to a DeLorean, which at no point
has ever been
a popular car. And then this movie, while still not a popular car, definitely made it somewhat popular.
Do you think it's because John DeLorean was just like, give them the car for free? Like, we got to get all exposure possible.
Maybe. Yeah, we need anything.
I think it was the right call, though, because just the car chases alone, it's like there's some excitement. I don't know how you do that with a fridge.
And also the DeLorean is like, it's clearly like a sports car, but yet for some reason it doesn't read like an inaccessible sports car. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Like if you see a Ferrari or a Lamborghini or like even a really nice Porsche, you're like, I'll never have that. But for some reason, when you see a DeLorean, you're like, I bet those aren't so expensive, right?
Well, even in the scene when he first goes back into the past.
Yeah.
And the doors open. They're like, it's an alien.
Yeah.
Like, if the doors just open like normal doors, they'd be like, oh, this is just a car.
It's a car.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true.
Would you drive a DeLorean if they like remade it?
1,000,000%.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would love to have a DeLorean. I would love to have like an electric DeLorean. Mm-hmm. That would be incredible. I would probably pay someone to soup it out with like the Mr. Coffee and shit on the back. 100% I'm having all those buttons and shit installed.
Yeah, it would have to be that. It wouldn't just be a DeLorean. It has to be the Back to the Future DeLorean.
There's going to be a flux capacitor, which is like you look at it now and you're like, the flux capacitor is so stupid.
And also, like, it doesn't in any way explain how time travel is possible.
Zero. And again, we all just buy it. We're like, yeah, that's how time travel is possible.
Yeah, of course.
Rory, next thing we got for you.
You guys are fucking absurd. Ugh. It's just naked pictures of me. All right. It is naked pictures of me. What is this?
When did you take these?
Is this for watercolor?
Yeah, it's like a little travel watercolor.
You guys are insane because I paint.
Yeah.
You guys really did your research here. This is awesome. Yeah, this is fucking cool as shit.
When did you first get into painting? Was it COVID?
It's a little COVID related. I don't remember how that was closed like that. Thank you. I try to wear this too. It's a little COVID related. My daughter is 9 now, and she was going to preschool and stuff and doing finger painting, shit like that. And when she was doing it pre-COVID, I was like, oh yeah, maybe I'll do it with her. Like, it seems like such a fun thing to do. Mm-hmm. And so, I kind of like had that revelation, and I use that term very liberally, of like, oh yeah, we can all just go to an art store and buy like supplies, which is strange because I don't think we ever really think about that. I think you just go, oh yeah, at 5, I went to school. Someone gave me finger paint and a piece of paper, and I, just did whatever, and I didn't give a fuck about it. And I, eventually got to 3rd grade and someone's like, you're not going to be an artist. You know what I mean? Like 3rd or 4th grade, they start separating the kids who are great at it from the kids who aren't great at it. And you kind of the rest of your life think, oh yeah, art is for people who can make a life out of it. And it was then that I was like, oh yeah, no, this is like just something we're allowed to do. And you just go to an art store and buy shit. So I did. Then COVID hit, and my dad passed away early into COVID, in June of 2020. And so I came back from that funeral, and I was so worried about COVID and maybe getting it in South Carolina and maybe giving it to my wife and my kid that I sort of isolated and grieved alone for like 9 days, which is maybe healthy, maybe not healthy. I don't really know. I think it was great for me. I was in this back apartment at my friend's house, and they had just set up, some paint and canvases. I think I think a lot of my friends who are super supportive, and like, again, it was COVID and LA took it very seriously. So like the keeping distance and being safe was way more than most places. And, they just set up some paint and stuff. And I just started kind of like painting. And I was like, oh, I'll work on a painting. And I sort of was doing one that I'd already been doing. And I sent a picture to my sister, and she was just like, can I have it? And I was like, oh, maybe I'll do a painting for each of my siblings. Because our dad has passed away, and this will just be a gift to them. There's just something in it. There's something in that for me in grieving, and maybe for them in grieving, and just being like, oh yeah, making a painting for someone is so personal. So anyways, I did that. It took me a long time to do. I have 6 siblings. So it took me a long time because also I wasn't like a painter. I didn't really know what I was doing. But I got to a point where I kind of individually did all these paintings that were individually for them. And I sent it to them. But in that process, I did other paintings, but I was also getting the repetition of painting. I also realized going out to my garage and, after my daughter went to bed, going out to the garage, turning on the light, putting on some music, having a drink, or maybe smoking a little bit. I was like, oh, this is such a good space. And I would paint and try to figure out how to paint and what I was trying to paint. And I got to say, I know this part of the podcast is, this is obviously way more serious, but I think what a lot of people discount is there's a massive amount of therapy in just sitting down to paint. And if there's one thing you guys can take away from this episode, listeners, it is painting is not about making something. It's just the activity of painting, and go do it for 20 minutes and just enjoy doing it and just see how therapeutic that is. And just also see how much you learn about yourself and your creativity and where your mind goes when you're painting. I tell people, you don't go shoot hoops because you think one day you're going to be in the NBA. You shoot hoops because you're like, yeah, I'm just doing the activity of shooting hoops. There's no end result to it. Painting is the same thing. As soon as you're done painting, if you love it, then save it. If you don't, fucking paint over it. Paint over a part of it. Paint over, you have to get white paint and just cover it. Like, grab some other colors. Just be like, I'm just going to paint over the right side. Like, just keep going and watch how you create abstract images and watch how you make choices towards colors and shapes and stuff. It's all very wildly interesting, I think.
Yeah.
So I try to tell a lot of people to try it because while a lot of people go, I'm not a painter, I'm not an artist, I think a lot of people don't realize that you can be. You've just never given yourself the repetition to learn how to do it. Like if someone told you you had to paint 100 canvases, do you really think by 100 you're not going to be like, well, maybe other people don't like it, but I've gotten good? Like, don't you think you would just naturally improve? But instead people go, I don't really paint. Go sit down and do 10 paintings and tell me by the 10th one you haven't learned something, Did
you always set out to make abstract paintings?
No, I think what maybe has ruined or what took me so long to get to art was the mind frame I just told you about was me. And I'd be like, I don't really, I'm okay at drawing, or I don't know how to paint a house or a person. And then I was like, that's not even the art that I like looking at. As a kid, I used to make fun of abstract stuff, being like, what the fuck is this? And I think there's a lot of adults now who are like, that's not art. All you did was throw paint around. But something occurs to you, like for you, where you start to look at it differently and you start to see how beautiful abstract painting is. And if you try to do it and make something interesting, you get to learn how hard it actually is. It isn't just making choices and then going, there, it's done. Like, it's a lot of thinking on like what makes an image that isn't anything appealing to look at. It's almost, you would think, harder to do than if you had the skill set to paint a landscape that was beautiful and like perfectly exactly like the landscape. You almost could go, oh, I'll just do that. But to go, oh, we'll make it abstract to make it interesting. It's like, oh, well, now my choices have to be so different, you know? Sorry that I've changed the tone of this podcast massively.
There's in How I Met Your Mother, there's an episode where William Zabka goes on.
Yeah.
But in the episode, he's also like gotten into poetry, and a character meets him, and they're like, "Oh, this is William Zabka," and he's like, "The poet?
You're the poet, William Zabka."
Nobody ever recognizes me for my poetry. He has all 6 of my collections.
And it's like, what if someone
Ronald Reagan?
the actor. Yeah. What if someone meets you and they're like, Roy Scovel, the artist?
I would love it. I would love if someone was like, oh, I only know you from your painting. I'll be like, oh, God, I love that. I mean, if anyone listening to this has heard me on other podcasts, I apologize for the repetitiveness of this, but I think there's some value to it. You know, I got into stand-up initially because I really love the idea of like the beatnik, Jack Kerouac, Bob Dylan, travel around with just your sack of like literally just having like your notebook that you write shit in, and then you go on stage and you sing your songs or you do your poems, you know, Allen Ginsberg, whoever. I love that. That drew me to stand up. And I always thought, oh, those are the coolest motherfuckers. And then when I saw pictures of paintings and started really learning about painters, action painters of like the 50s and 60s, I was like, actually, I think these motherfuckers might be the coolest because they don't care if you like it or even if you come and see it. Like when you see pictures of like abstract painters in the 60s, they're just like staring at you with their painting. And you're like, I think they hate me. We've never met. And there's just something so cool about it. And I was like, oh man, there's something in that time period that I'm very attracted to. The beatnik culture, the action painting culture. There's something about it. I don't know what it is.
Next thing we got you. So this is one of the first things I ever saw you do. We partnered with our buddy Dr. Photograph on this.
What the fuck? How is this? Oh my God. Did you have this made?
Yeah.
What is this?
We partnered with our buddy Dr. Photograph, who's able to make some stuff
oh
like this.
God. Oh my God. When I show Mandy and Joel, who do the super serious show, and we're running this show at Moon Tower, when I show them this, guys,
there's a lot of there's a lot of people not wanting this to happen. When you were climbing that tower, you got about halfway, and there's a moment where you just kind of loop your arm in it, and you're like trying to be casual.
Yeah.
But then it's like, oh God.
It was a little shaky, as you can imagine. It was a little shaky, and I sort of vaguely remember not having a good set the night before or the previous show. I don't remember when it was.
I'll be honest, before I do this, I want to say something just in case I don't make it. I just want to say one thing. Didn't enjoy the set I had last night. Didn't enjoy the set I had earlier tonight. This is what it's come to. Okay?
That's what motivated me to be like, fuck this. I'm going to go do a weird thing. And then I was Eddie Vedder. That was my Eddie Vedder doing stand-up moment, climbing something. That is so fun. This is the most impressive thing I think anyone's ever shown me. I cannot wait to eBay that. Immediately, right away.
That would be the funniest.
He eBayed it before he got in his car.
Yeah.
He had it.
We actually just bought it back from him real quick.
Yeah, dude, if you're going to sell it, we'll just take it back.
I love this town square. You were talking about it a little
Look
bit
how
earlier.
fake it is on the left. Those 2 windows at the top, right there on the left.
Oh, yeah.
It looks like you can't even see the bagging.
Yeah.
Like it's clearly nothing.
It's so
behind
clearly
it.
like flat.
Yeah.
But like you're talking about this movie being perfect, like I felt these scenes, the beginning setting up all this, it makes you feel like, and the town's so small, it just makes you just feel like you've been there too.
Yeah. It's so interesting because it almost being a 2-hour movie, which I guess I didn't even realize till just now, but it's interesting. Like this has occurred like 25% into the movie, I guess, which is kind of interesting. There's something, all the symmetry about it. There's something I really fucking dig about that.
And there's so much symmetry, too, in the sequels as well.
Yeah.
You know, Biff is bullying McFly. It's like generations of Biffs just echoing throughout eternity.
It's never ended. Yeah. Pretty cool. Billy Zane there, part of the group, jumping in the back of the car.
Oh, man, I never noticed
on the far side there in the back.
I love the guy just constantly wearing 3D glasses throughout the movie.
All I've ever thought, even as a kid, I've been like, that's not good. That's not good for your eyes.
Another gift we got for you.
Shut the fuck up. This is what's the budget on this fucking show, guys? Man, is this the exact shirt?
That's Biff wears it in the second Back to the Future.
Oh, I didn't know the second. Yeah. What does he wear? When does he wear
when he gets the sports almanac. It's when he
gets handed the thing. Mm-hmm. Guys, you guys are absurd. Also, doesn't this feel like the shirt from like I Think You Should Leave? Like there's so much going on in it. Like there's so many patterns.
I mean, you walk by a store and you see 50 guys who look just like me fighting over very complicated shirts. You go in. Yes, you do.
Oh my God. You gotta like roll the sleeves up.
I saw an interview that you said when you saw Biff for the first time walking down the street, you wanted to imitate that.
You know what's so funny is that that is from an interview in my hometown. And it's funny, the guy that was interviewing me recorded our conversation so he could write the article. And that's not at all what I said. Because I wanted to be Marty McFly. And then I read the article, as you did. He was like, oh, you wanted to be Biff. And I was like, no, I read that. I was like, this guy has it on record. He has a recording of my exact answer. And was like, I don't care.
I did think that was funny. That I was like, it's very rare you hear somebody that's like, man, I just want to be Biff.
Exactly.
No, I thought it was very unique.
But also the guy wrote, and he quoted me as saying, and I saw Biff, and I thought, he's a pretty cool dude. And all I remember was like, I've never said a sentence like that in my life. He's a pretty cool dude. It was so bizarre to like have it. Like, if you weren't recording it, I would maybe give you the benefit of the doubt. But the fact that you could listen to the recording, it's so absurd.
We even left it open for you. I'll be Marty. He'll be Doc. You can be Biff.
Yeah,
I do like it, though.
Sure.
I might wear that on stage tonight.
It did look like a shirt you'd wear.
I love it. I think it's great.
That was another thing. We were like, this has a Rory flair to it.
How do you find that? You just look it up and you just go, shut up. Guys, I'm taking all this on stage.
That's the last thing we got you. So if you open it up, you'll realize you can use it for jokes.
This is so funny. You guys really go above and beyond. God, I wish this was real and I could actually live out the movie and be rich as fuck. Ice skating. Who's... All right.
Darts is on there, too.
Could you imagine...
Darts. Man, he made most of his money off dart betting and racquetball, ping pong bets.
Rodeo.
Yeah, slam ball. I don't even know. What is slam ball?
Oh, that's basketball with a trampoline. I can't believe they...
Yeah, I
can't believe that was a thing.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, 1950 to 2000, it was in there. This is so
when
great.
Fats Domino won that billiards tournament, he really turned his life around.
Polo, track. This is great.
It is wild to think, like, if you were a bookie back then and you're just like taking this guy's bets and he's just winning you'd eventually just be like, all right, I'm not gonna just keep. This guy can't lose.
Yeah. Yeah, you would be like, what is up, dude?
This guy's bad
because he definitely wasn't smart enough to lose a few.
You would die. I mean, they would kill you. They would be like, this guy's got to fix. Like,
yes,
you couldn't make your money that way.
Right. Yeah, that's actually a good point. You'd have to lose on purpose. Which, if you had this book,
you could
just go, all right, I'll just lose.
I'm gonna hit 80%. 70%.
Who knows? Maybe they mentioned that in the second one. I don't know. I don't think they get into it that much, but this is so fucking great.
Have you ever done much sports gambling before?
No, I have, but not very much. One that I do recall is we went to Vegas with some friends, and it was at a time when the Cavaliers, when LeBron was on the Cavaliers.
Which time?
I think the second time.
Okay.
And they were playing, I think, Atlanta. and it was in the playoffs.
Okay, Atlanta was good again, yeah.
Yeah, and then it was also the Rangers, I think, were playing the Bruins, and the Rangers were down 2-0 in the series. And so I just did a parlay because I was like, I think the Rangers are due. So I think the Rangers are going to win. And then I was like, I think Cleveland's going to win. And I think the total points is going to be like under 120 or whatever the fuck it was, whatever the bet was. And yeah, that was maybe the most fun I had because I put $100 down. And in Vegas, those were the two giant, you've been to like the bookie area. So those were the two major games on. So we just sat there drinking. Huge hockey game right there. Huge basketball game right there. Rangers had it wrapped up pretty quick. So I was like, all right, one down. Cleveland was definitely going to win. And it was like the fourth quarter. And I was like, I need Cleveland to take everybody out. And they did. They took out everybody. Got guys some playing time, so naturally they didn't run up the score. Mm-hmm. So the parlay ended up paying out like $1,000 or something.
Oh, nice!
That was the most meaningful betting I've ever done. Where it was like, well, I don't really want to lose $100, but to gain 1,000 is so absurd.
You ever play blackjack or anything like that when you're in Vegas?
I'm not. My favorite is craps.
Oh yeah,
I love craps. Even though I play it so infrequently that every time I go to play it again, I have to kind of relearn it.
Oh, every time for sure. I'm like, okay, I know I need to put money on the combat, right?
Yeah,
I look a little lost out there.
They hate that I say craps every time I roll.
And craps.
Don't roll 7. Don't roll 7.
7, 7, 7, 7, 7, 7. And they're like, don't. Why are you doing that? Because I think if I do it, then no one will throw it.
What type of guy are you around the craps table? Are you outgoing?
Are you a roller?
No, I don't like it. Here's why I like craps more than blackjack at its core thing. Blackjack, everything can be your fault. In craps, if you roll a 7, of course you did. And of course everyone does. You know what I mean? So there's less like, oh, you're a piece of shit. Okay. And it's more like, chance, that's just chance and that's luck or you bad luck. But in blackjack, people can be like, man, you're a fucking idiot. And you just fucked that up forever. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
You can actually be blamed
for
other people's misfortune.
People get up and leave because
they get up and leave, and that has for sure happened because I've sat there like a fucking idiot, being like, "Yeah, hit me." And they're like, "Wait, why are you? Why would you hit?" And I'm like, "Because I don't really know what I'm doing."
Taylor has 16.
I got locked out of my hotel room one year, so I just stayed up all night gambling in Vegas.
Okay,
and it was like 9 o'clock in the morning. I was so tired and just was sitting at a blackjack table just to be sitting down. And had 2 8s and didn't split, and just everybody got up and left the table. One of the worst feelings ever.
Like, this guy,
oh god,
idiot. That's the house.
Like apologize to the deal.
The one that you go by.
Yeah,
that's nice.
Earlier we were talking about going back in time and finding out your dad was a loser. I think it'd be worse finding out he's a peeping Tom.
Oh god, he's a loser and a pervert.
Yeah.
Or you could be like, you know what? I'm gonna open up to him. Be like, hey, where are you at sexually? What were you like?
If you had a time machine, Rory, would you want to go back or go in the future?
It's so interesting because I don't know. I think at this age, the future looks so dark and dismal and hopeless that I'm like, oh, maybe I don't want to know until we just naturally get there. But I've always been obsessed with Dazed and Confused is another one of my... I don't think I put that on the list.
You didn't, but I love that
when we were talking
one
about movies. But Dazed and Confused is one of my favorites too. And it's because I'm just like, man, is that what it was like in 1976? Because that just seems awesome. It seems like an awesome time to be in high school. And who knows, maybe it's fucking horrible or was horrible. But if I had a time machine, I'd probably want to go back and find out. I'd want to know, like, was the 70s like fun? You know, there is an element of like going back and like meeting your dad as a high school or college age or just young man. There's something about that I think there's no way it doesn't maybe creep you out or disrupt the illusion of who you built up in your dad, be it good or bad. It will destroy that illusion in some way.
Oh yeah. If I went back in time, my dad was climbing up a tree with binoculars.
Yes.
I'd be like, what?
But even like if you went back in time and your dad was like not Biff, but like a little bit of a dick and like kind of a bully. but that's not who he grew into be. That would also like inform me. I think going back in time, we're all older. I think we're all at an age where we can understand that people change. That mentally we could probably all handle going back and finding out our dad was different than who he grew to be and go, oh yeah, you change, whatever. But yeah, if you went back in time and there's a chance you go back in time and you find out as a peeping Tom, and like that could be the best version. Like, oh, thank God he was only. Actually, imagine going back in time, you're like, oh my God, my dad was a wild racist.
He's in the tree, and you're like, I'm glad I'm 5 minutes early.
Yeah. Hey, Dad. George, get out, and change who you are, dude. Also, in the opening sequence, another fun fact, which a lot of people know. There's already Christopher Lloyd hanging off the clock in one of the clocks in the beginning.
Oh, no way.
Oh, he's like hanging off a clock, which is like just this direct foreshadowing of what's going to happen later. I love little shit like that. It's so fun.
Well, do you think he was obsessed with the clocks before?
I know. When did this timeline start?
Like that's
interesting.
So that's like a lot of this movie kind of opens up those questions where it's like, was it always that guy's idea to be mayor, and he just kind of saying it activated it, or did Marty
sped it up?
Or did Marty change his life by just suggesting it?
And one day I'm gonna be somebody.
That's right, he's gonna be mayor.
Yeah, I'm mayor. Now that's a good idea.
I know any time travel movies. There's always that conundrum of, when did it start? Like, when was... I'm trying to think of... I watched one not that long ago. Oh, we've been reading Harry Potter, and we've been watching the movies with our daughter. And we just watched...
the third one?
I think it's The Prisoner of Azkaban.
Yeah, with the time travel thing.
Where all those weird things are happening, but then when they go through it again, they're the ones that caused it. And you're like, I'm always like, how could they have caused it the first time? Unless they're just stuck in a loop of that just always happening. And I think that's the conundrum you run into with every kind of time travel thing, is like, when is the first moment of time travel?
I thought that was going to happen in the second one, when Marty is in the first one, he's playing on stage, and he's like collapsing. And because in that moment, Crispin Glover is like not making the move.
Yeah.
And so he collapses, and I thought it was going to be the Marty in the Back to the Future 2 going up to him and be like, what are you doing? You got to go get the girl. Like finally making it happen.
That's actually a great... that could have been it would
have been Marty saving himself.
That would have been a really fucking cool thing. But then it would have asked that question.
Who did it first? Yeah. So it was kind of like too much building on itself. This is the outfit where I'm like, he kind of looks like Rick.
Yeah. It's also like such a great outfit. Like, even what George is wearing, what all of them are wearing, cool today in 2024. That jacket Marty's got on, get the fuck out of here. And it's so funny too, because like all of these shirts that they're wearing, like even this one that you guys got me and those two right there, it's almost like wardrobe was like, yeah, I just got, these were dollar shirts.
Yeah.
But like we watch it, like those shirts look cool, but like we only think it's cool because maybe it's in a movie. Like what is Doc really wearing? Like that?
Yeah,
that shirt is crazy.
He looks like he's going to Tunica to gamble all weekend. Like it's, but it's also, it says a lot about the time period when like a grown, 60-year-old man could just put on a hat and walk around a school.
Yes.
The principal was just there. Doesn't even acknowledge.
Doesn't care. Doesn't care at all.
That's so funny. Rory, another movie you mentioned about possibly doing was Boogie Nights.
Yeah.
Which I thought that was interesting because in Babylon, the scene you have with like Tobey Maguire feels very Boogie Nights inspired.
Yeah, there's that was a wild scene to shoot, but yeah, that's another movie that I kind of saw when it came out, not in theaters, but rented it. And I only rented it because I knew it was about porn, and I just wanted to see nudity and like kind of see porn. This is in 1995 or 96. I don't remember when it came out, but I just wanted to see
Dirk Diggler.
Yeah, I just wanted to see sex. Really,
heard he dropped dong at the end.
And then it wasn't until college my roommate Rick Wagey was like, he was like, "Oh, I love that movie too." And I don't even think I said I loved it. I don't know that I really even watched it. But seeing it through his lens,
the dong.
Yeah, seeing it through his lens of what he liked about it opened my eyes to that it's both movies. It's very funny and also just beautifully unfunny. And you're like, oh, it's kind of both at the same time. You sort of get to decide how you want to react to it. But there's so much in it. I'm mostly impressed by the fact that Paul Thomas Anderson wrote and made that
movie.
And and I think he was like 26.
Yeah.
And he's there bringing Burt Reynolds back to life as an actor and in a beautiful way. Like literally everybody in that movie crushes everybody. Every role is so good. It's so beautifully shot. The story I think is so interesting. It's one I could rewatch many times.
I always hate that Burt, like, he hated the movie, you know?
Wait, who?
Burt Reynolds.
Oh, did he?
Yeah. He
did. Really?
Paul Thomas Anderson.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I don't think I knew any of that. I don't know any of that kind of...
He, like, when it ever came out, I think he, like, disowned it, and then it, like, got so much acclaim where he kind of had to walk it back a little bit.
Yeah. That's so interesting because, I mean, he's wonderful in it.
Yeah, yeah.
It's done so well where it's like, I'm going to do a movie about porn and getting into it and getting out of it and what it was like prior to VHS. Like, even if people are like, yeah, but porn is like a taboo thing. It's like, it doesn't matter. It's a cultural moment that is so intriguing. The same way in Babylon, you know, this is the world going from silent to sound. Mm-hmm. Like, there's something intense about porn going from film to video where, you know, prior to that, here were these stories. And then, we can just rewind and record over the thing we just did. So now it's like, it doesn't even have to be stories. It could be fucking anything. I don't know. I find it so interesting.
In Babylon, one of my favorite scenes, I mean, I love the scene with you and Tobey Maguire, but my favorite scene, I think, just producing the podcast and doing the sound was where they're all trying to get the sound on, on the movie.
that one
and it, like, just there's a humming and like the guy in the booth dies. And they finally get it.
Because it's so hot in there.
I thought that scene was brilliant.
Yeah, that was I think that was 3 or 4 days. Might have been 3 days. It was definitely more than one of us just shooting that, which is crazy.
Was it hot on set? Yeah, it looks hot in there.
No, not in there, not for that. No, but there were a lot of moments of heat because we started shooting that in June of 2021, June or July of 2021, and the very first thing we shot was that first time she gets introduced to being on the set where there is no sound, so everything was just getting shot side by side.
Mm-hmm.
And that was up in the mountains, and it was just dusty dirt, hot as fuck, and everybody's in wool, you know, like period clothing, so it was super fucking warm. Yeah, that was the first 2 weeks of shooting. Yeah, it's such an ambitious film.
I thought it was cool too. Flea's in that movie.
Yeah,
and he's in Back to the Future too.
Yeah. Great point. I forgot about that. Yeah, I chatted with him a bunch. He's an awesome guy. He's very, very cool. Yeah, I just remember the first few things I shot with him. It was like on day one we had like shot something, and I was like, "Oh, you're just like I didn't know he was in the movie." I'm like, "Oh man, how awesome!" Here's Flea.
Have you ever been able to keep like something from something you've acted in? Like in Robbie, you had that room of dreams.
Oh yeah.
Were you ever able to like take something with you?
I think early on I did, but then I just kind of, and I can't remember what I would take, but I would take like little bits and pieces of stuff. I did take some stuff from Babylon, which is not legal, but I took all those headshots of me.
Yeah,
at the very end, like kind of the last thing. Mm-hmm. I just remember that day. That was the last thing we ever shot. Was the third take of that shooting, like us all getting killed. Even though I think we got it the second time we did another one. And I just remember after that, grabbing some of those pictures and taking them, and definitely you're not allowed to do that. Like, I don't know who would fucking care.
Yeah.
But, I still got them. Cause someone was like, oh, you should do my friend who, did makeup on the movie, she was like, "Oh, you really should do something with with all those pictures," and she said it in front of the lawyer for the studio. And she was like, "Well, I'm a big fan of the movie and your stand-up, so I'm going to pretend like I didn't hear anything you just said." But I also wanted to be like, no matter what I turn this into, there's no way anyone would fucking care or even remember. You know,
I was really hoping you stole the cape.
Oh, I wish. That thing was awesome. Yeah. Those clothes were so hot. I wore these same clothes the entire movie, and the movie stretches like a couple years, but I wore the same outfit the whole fucking time.
I realize that.
Which I got to say, when you're getting ready and doing fittings and stuff, if someone's like, "You wear the same thing the whole movie," you're like, "Oh, that's actually kind of great."
Yeah.
Because you're on a TV show where you're always having to change clothes, you have to go do fittings, and I'm not great at fittings. I'm not great at trying on clothes, even at department stores. You know, I just don't like it. I think I'm traumatized from being a kid and hating having to do it. That now it lives in me as this thing I hate.
You are in Physical with Rose Byrne.
Yeah.
And Leah Thompson and Rose Byrne kind of have like some, I don't know, they remind me of each other a little bit.
Yeah, I can say that.
Like it's like their
especially in
wholesomeness.
that show with Sheila, her character, her wig that she wears in that show has a very Leah Thompson kind of look. But yeah, I know what you mean.
I can't quite put my finger on it, but I've always thought she was so dynamic and so, like, honestly, such a good comedic actress.
Oh, yeah, Rose?
Yes.
Oh, top shelf. Great comedically, great dramatically. So fucking good. And also so nice, so effortless. Truly the most education I've ever gotten as an actor is being in scenes with her and watching how she does it. Because there's a lot to learn from people who are good, but also people who have a lot of experience, whether they're good or not. You know, people with experience, there's a lot you can learn. And yeah, I definitely came out of that show a better actor because of her. This whole scene, by the way, is the definition of my childhood. Like, I thought this would be my life. I thought a moment like this would occur.
This Power of Love just blaring too.
Yeah.
Did you ever skateboard or anything like that?
No, and I wanted to because of this.
Yeah.
Because to me, that was skateboarding was grabbing a car and them pulling you. Interesting that truck didn't decide to stop as it's getting hit from behind.
Yeah.
And also, where's she going with all those files? Come on. Where, are you stealing tax tax papers? Watch Billy Zane's throw here. It's so bad. Watch this throw.
Oh, yeah.
They're like, "You got to miss him." He goes, "Okay, I'll miss him by 20 feet.
That always cracks me up. I mean, you have a background in sports, but it is funny watching a lot of sports movies where the actors clearly don't know how to play the sport.
Yeah, and also not only do they not know how to play the sport that is that movie, but you can just tell they don't have athleticism. And it's so, like, you can just... We all can quickly spot someone who doesn't have athleticism. Mm-hmm. The only wild card throughout our whole lives is someone that you see where you go, their movement, they don't have athleticism, and then they end up being good at the thing. That blows everyone's mind every time, but it's so rare. But yeah, in movies, you see an actor who like gets a football and goes to throw it, and you're like, that's not how you throw a football. That's not how you throw a football, even if you're bad at throwing a football.
No, it's always funny to me because it's like these actors, I feel like society, we view them as cool, but it's like you see that and you're like, oh, we would have been making fun of this guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, one jump
Go
shot,
back to drama class, nerd.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had to bring in a quarterback coach for Keanu Reeves in Point Break because he like couldn't throw the football.
Yeah.
They had to work with him. They still were like, we still had to cut scenes around it. Like, and what's so funny is I saw a fake report going out like the last year that was like Keanu Reeves was so good at football. The Ravens.
In the replacements.
Yeah. They're like, the Ravens tried to offer. And it's like, that is not true.
And also, if that is true, it's like, who was the quarterback coach from Point Break? Because that dude should be a billionaire. He took someone who can't throw it to like maybe get recruited for the NFL team, having never played a football game.
And you know, like the quarterback for the Ravens was like Trent Dilfer at the time. It was just like, what the?
Yeah. I also love the joke here of sorry, it's not to scale. This whole model. I didn't have time to paint it and build it to scale, or I didn't have time to paint it. I think he says.
How did you find out Santa Claus wasn't real?
That's a good question. I remember being told. I think I kind of put it together. I definitely was told late. I believe, here's the fucked up thing. You guys grew up in the South, so you're probably raised Christian. I would assume.
Yes.
I was Catholic. And the side-by-side people telling you that you have to believe something or there's a penalty pushes you to kind of whenever someone's like, well, Santa Claus isn't real, you're like, yeah, but I was told if I stop believing, then I won't get presents. Like, you know what I mean? There's something to hold on to, which is very mentally damaging. There's no way to look at reality. And I remember holding on to the idea for a very long time. And I want to say I didn't know until maybe 10 or 11, which feels late. My daughter's 9 and still believes it. And I don't know when we're going to tell her. I don't know what that's going to be like. And it was one thing that I've said to many people, like, it's such a strange, like, I get the fun of Santa, and I wonder if there's a way to still have the fun and the thing that is Christmas without this having to lie to your kid because you are lying to them for, let's say, 10 straight years about a reality they believe. And then when you go, none of that was ever real, it's traumatizing. You know?
What else is a lie, Dad?
Exactly. You go, what else is, what's the truth about anything? And it's so strange. But yeah, I remember just being told, and I remember my older sister and stepmom, I think, told me, and they were both like, you don't know by now? Almost like, that's so ridiculous that you still think that. Like, I was almost like
pitying you?
Like roasting me. This weird shaming of like, why do you still believe that? I mean, like, because I thought we had to.
We've had people where I'm like, well, how did you find out? They're like, oh, what? Just now. And you're like, that would be the worst for you.
And also you guys are like, oh, well, he's not. Anyways, let's finish the movie as I've shattered your reality for every December.
Our favorite story, though, is from Shonick. Have you heard his story?
No. Oh,
you got to tell it. But shout out to Shonick because he really set all this up for us today.
Shonick. Just again, I told you this earlier, but it's my goal for y'all to have a podcast because I just think y'all's back and forth would be incredible. Mm-hmm. Even when I was talking to Shonick about setting this up, he was like, yeah, I sent him. He's like, I don't know. He's like, I sent it to him, and then he just started riffing. But so we asked Shonick, and he said he had just got to America, and because I think he didn't move over to like 3rd grade,
right? Yeah.
And so he's like, it's around Christmas. He's like in his buddy's house, and he sees a picture of Santa. And he's just like, who is this, your grandpa? And the guy's like, no, it's Santa Claus. And he's like,
the guy punched him right in the face.
He's like, who's Santa Claus? He's like, oh, it's this guy that comes every year at Christmas, give you presents. He's like, that's awesome. He's like, oh, well, he's not real.
You're like, wait.
Shonick finds out about Santa and then immediately has it ripped away from
That's great. His story about Halloween is so great, too.
Mm-hmm.
Having no
this
concept.
Is every day?
Yeah. What is this?
They're taking 9/11 pretty hard.
Yeah. Yeah. And he wore a woman's suit. So good.
What's the last movie you watched that made you cry?
Oh, God. I feel like ever since becoming a dad, I could cry so easily. I could cry right now. What? I cry a lot. It doesn't take a lot to shake me up, but God damn it, I just saw something that hit me. I have to think about it. Boogie night? Porn? Actual porn? Real porn?
It was beautiful.
You guys immediately lose all respect. Like, oh, you're like a weird, creepy
I cry every time I watch porn.
Oh, you're like dirtbag guy. I don't remember. I don't remember what I saw that really...
Do you have a movie that every time you're like, gosh, I'm going to cry in this scene every time?
To give a little bit of a long answer you're not asking for, I'm such a Christopher Nolan fan. I really love all of his movies since Memento, and then I finally went back and watched that movie following. All of it's so great. Big fan. So I had very high hopes for Interstellar. And when I saw it, I didn't really like it. I think I went into it doing that thing where I wanted it to be something, and when it wasn't, I was mad, which is such a horrible way to go digest any art. But yeah, it wasn't until I became a dad and rewatched it, and it shakes me every time. Oh, and I was just thinking about this on my drive over here. But there's something about time and the loss of time. Castaway is another one when they are together at the end and they just have to conclude that through no one's fault, and not like we just have to accept that you were gone for 4 years or whatever it was, and everybody moved on thinking you were dead, and now I have a husband with kids, and there's something so tragically heartbreaking about it that Castaway always gets me. Another Zemeckis movie, another one with Alan Silvestri doing the music, and the music for Castaway rips it fucking out of me. Dead Poet Society gets me all the time. But Interstellar, going back and watching it a second time years later on a plane as a dad, it really hit me so much more. I think because I watched it less with where's this story going to go, knowing where it goes, I focused more on the fact that he tried to be a brave hero who was like, knew the moment he left, he wasn't coming back, even though he said that he would, or, said that he would see her again. And then there's something beautiful about the fact she's an old woman now, and he did see her again. And the fact it's only been, X amount of time for him. And it's been a lifetime for her. That philosophical stuff about time like that, it rips it out of me. It shatters my heart. But specifically, like I said, there's a longer answer than what you were hoping for.
Well, I think it ties back into Back to the Future. You just love time stuff.
I think it, and no joke, this movie could have maybe been the foundation of me deciding I like stories that play with this philosophy or ask this question, what would you do or who would you be if you could manipulate time in some way? But when he tells Anne Hathaway that, when he was like, I told my kid to be back, and she was like, couldn't you just go tell her that you were going to save the world? God, I could get teary-eyed just now. But him replying that when you have a kid, you quickly realize that your job is to make them believe that they're okay. So he couldn't say, I have to leave you forever to try to go save the world for you to keep living, because as her dad, he wants her to think that she is safe. And it's just, oh God, stuff like that is like beautiful poetry to me. I love it.
No, I was cracking up because we just had Joe Zimmerman on, and that was his pick too.
Oh, Interstellar?
On a plane.
We said he cried.
that was plane. I was on a plane. That was when I saw it a second time because for whatever reason, it was probably Delta, I bet, that he was on. Then I saw it on Delta, and I think it was like LA to Atlanta or something. It was like a long flight. And I was like, I'm going to throw it on. And I threw it on, and no joke, sitting there fucking tears streaming. And I remember being like, why did I not feel any of this the first time? And I can only conclude that, because I don't remember when it came out, but I don't think I had been a dad very long, or at least that element of being a parent that just wasn't in my periphery yet. Yeah. But when I watched it that time, although good on Joe, he doesn't have kids, and he was able to.
He can still feel.
I guess he has feelings.
Yeah.
I guess he's more human.
Empathetic.
Yeah, that empathy. I also think Marty could have devised a better plan that didn't be like, all right, well, I'm going to be inappropriate with my mom in the car, and you're going to come punch me.
I know. I think there was a little bit of wanting to do that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm just realizing is, because we have all just met face to face for the first time today, is that you've been wearing the wig longer than not wearing the wig. That right now, if you told me, Rory, what do I look like without this wig? I don't know that I can even see it in my mind. I think I can only see that this is now just what your hair is. In fact, when you take that off, it's probably going to be more jarring than when you put that on.
Well, this is how we're coming to the show tonight.
Yeah. I'd be like, I can't even.
Yeah. I just want you to recognize me.
In my mind, I can't even go back to what you looked like before the wig.
What song would you have played
if I was going on stage at the end and you
had to save the school dance?
Save it. I don't know. You know, isn't it so funny that there was a time in movies where no one gave a fuck that Michael J. Fox is so clearly not singing Johnny Be Good.
Oh, yeah.
but remember, like, a lot of movies would just do that and just be like, yeah, and then he sings it. And like, oh, well, what should the track be? And they're just like...
Use the song.
No, just use the actual song.
Yeah.
Oh, just have Rory sing Michael Jackson.
He's got a really deep singing voice.
Yeah. I'm not going to lie, probably Billie Jean. I probably would have wanted to do the entire Motown 25 dance to Billie Jean.
This one might be ahead of your time, but your kids are going to love it.
Yeah. This is going to be way ahead of your time. People are like, what the? He's not even playing an instrument. Oh my God. Like, imagine these people singing the moonwalk. They'd be like, you're a wizard. You're a sorcerer. You're an evil sorcerer.
Doing the moonwalk. That would be so funny.
It cuts directly. You moonwalk to that scene of where he's like at the end of playing the guitar. They're all just
and the guy takes the guitar from him like, what the fuck did you do to my instrument? I talked about this in one of my improvised stand-up shows, and I think it might become a bit in my act, but we watched this with my daughter, and right here is where my wife was texting me like, how do we talk to her about this? And I'm like replying back, I'm like, what? And she's like, the rape scene. And I'm just like, I don't know. In the joke, I'm like, that's just how people did it back then. We have to accept that that's what time was.
I always feel that way when I'm watching an old, like, Sean Connery James Bond movie.
Yeah.
Like, I used to watch him being like, oh, this will help me be, like, smooth and slick with women. And then you watch him and you're like, oh, no, all this is so inappropriate. And, it's like, you can't use any of it.
Yes. You can't say any of these lines.
There's a line.
Immediately a drink is getting thrown in your face. You're getting asked to leave.
There's a line in one of them where a girl walks
up with the drinks.
Yeah, and he's just like, calls her Dink or something. He's like, yo, Dink, move along, man talk. Slaps her on the butt.
It's a conversation for men.
Well, I actually do that with my wife quite often. Hey, babe, man talk. Get out of here.
Felix, say hello to Dink.
Hi, Dink.
Dink, say goodbye to Felix. Man talk.
I'm in a movie that comes out at the end of January called You're Cordially Invited, and the guy who plays the pastor in it, it's like a wedding comedy. The guy who plays the pastor in it is the guy in this scene of part 2 who is trying to help Biff. And when Marty walks up to take the almanac,
got his wallet?
And he goes, I think that guy took his wallet. Yeah. He took his wallet. And I was
like 6 times.
Yeah. And I was like, I've worked with that dude. I've worked with Biff.
Flea.
Tom Wilson.
Oh, really?
He was the dad in Bo Burnham's show. Zach Stone is going to be famous. It was on MTV one season forever ago.
I watched a little bit on Netflix.
Yeah, so that's who played his dad.
Mm-hmm.
I played his boss at the grocery store.
That's right.
I'm trying to think. I've always logged in my brain who I've worked with from Back to the Future. My only connection to Michael J. Fox is that I've worked with Bill Lawrence, who did Spin City.
Yeah.
And did a show I was on called Ground Floor.
He does Shrinking now, right?
He now does Shrinking. Yeah.
So good.
Brett Goldstein's show, Ted Lasso.
No, he's on a roll.
I wish you would have gone up to Biff and just been like, hey, nice to meet you. What's that over there?
Yeah.
He falls for it like 6 times in the movie.
He does. Mm-hmm. What is so funny is that I know him from this, obviously. And then I found out he was a stand-up comedian and has been and was, he got cast. And I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting. Like we have that. And then we did Zach Stone is going to be famous. His daughters really liked me in the show. And I remember, do you remember Meltdown in LA? It was also a show on Comedy Central.
Oh, yeah.
Live at Meltdown. Yeah. It was Kumail and Emily and Jonah Ray and Ed Salazar, their show. But I was on a taping with him. But he and I were chatting, and he was so nice and just saying how much it was, his daughters liked me in that show. And I know his act. I know that he gets asked Back to the Future stuff all the time. I know that it's been a part of his life. And it's, I'm sure, nauseating.
Yeah.
I like, you can't go, oh, you're lucky you had a role. It's like, yeah, I did, but that doesn't mean that's my whole fucking life. Like, you're shattering my reality. And I know all that, and I'm very respectful of it. And for whatever reason, saying goodbye that night, I was like, Tom, so good to see you. And I will see you again in the future. And I said, I don't know. I don't talk like that. I did not say it with that intent. But where you're like talking and your brain, you're just like the way I'm talking to you guys right now. It's not like I'm like fully thinking out what I'm saying, but I just know what I'm saying. I'll see you again in the future. It did not occur to me, but I said future weird because it clued in as I'm saying it. Like, I will see you again in the future. Like shook hands and I left and I was like, I think I just became the guy he hates. And it wasn't at all intentional.
You like winked as you did it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Just start blaring Huey Lewis.
See you in the future.
Oh man, that is so funny.
God, that's great.
I wish right then I would have said, I did not even mean to say that. Like, and maybe I meant to say I didn't mean to say it in some smart ass kind of. Yeah, you were back in the meeting. I wasn't trying to do that. I should have said that to his face. Like, just so you know, I don't know why that slipped. I don't talk like that. But also, I would have been like, but to tell you the truth, you're in my favorite movie ever.
Yeah.
And also, like I had said to you guys, so I only realize now, consciously, that Michael J. Fox had such a impact on me as wanting to be an actor that I could be like, you're in a movie that is the reason in a lot of ways that I'm on this show talking to you right now, because the lead of that movie inspired me so much that here I am,
Leah Thompson, the first couple things I saw her in, she almost tries to sleep with her son.
Yeah.
Then she tries to sleep with a duck.
Yeah. Oh yeah. She has like she's got some kinks.
Yeah, and I've tied it to the actress and not to the character.
Yeah.
What is wrong with her?
I don't know. You got anything where I fuck a duck? Leah, we can't do this anymore.
Have normal relationships. You got anything you want to plug?
I'm going to be, if you're a listener and you're in the Brooklyn area, I'm going to do 10 nights of improvised stand-up at Union Hall, January 8th. Through the 18th. So if you're in Brooklyn, come on out and check out a show of me floundering to find material. But then a lot of dates are going to start coming up on my website. If you want to check it out, please do.
Well, thanks so much for taking time out of your day to hang out with us.
Oh my God. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, also the movie You're Cordially Invited. The end of January will be streaming on Amazon. So check it out. It's Will Ferrell, Reese Witherspoon. It's pretty funny.
Awesome. That's awesome. What was that like? Sorry, I hate to.
No. That's it was great. We shot it in Atlanta back in 2023, May and June of 2023, which seems like forever ago. I don't know why it's taken so long to finally come out. I guess Amazon would know, but yeah, it was great. I got to play Reese Witherspoon's douchey Southern brother, which you guys growing up in the South, we all know.
Yeah.
It's so easy to dive into that exact character.
Reed knows a little bit more than I do about the douchey Southern brother.
But yeah, it was, it's super fun, and it comes out into January, and I think it's gonna, hopefully it'll do really well. It's a wedding comedy, and yeah, I think it'll be good.
That's awesome. Yeah. We'll look forward to that.
Yeah. Cool. Thanks for having me, guys.
They're very metallic. I've been afraid of them falling down and just like.
Can you see anything?
Oh, nothing.
Oh man, if you told me you could see through them, I'd buy them off you right now. I'd be like, give me this fucking glasses.
Giving you all these gifts. It's like the one thing I want.
Yeah.
Take these others back. I want this.